Yeah. So on the one hand, uh, one of the approaches to addiction it's called an intervention, where you, by force, if necessary, pluck the person out of the totality of their circumstances that um, that make the addiction happen. Like the addiction is part of an entire life, an entire lifestyle, your surroundings, and so forth. If nothing else changes, then the addiction isn't going to change either. So you intervene and interrupt the routines, the relationships, the whole way of life of the addict. And that doesn't mean that they're cured, but it means that they have at least a chance to make other changes and to look at the things that the addiction was obscuring. Because addictions kind of work, temporarily at least. They dull the pain. In fact, they originate as a coping mechanism. And for them, and the problem is that the price that they take to keep working gets greater and greater and greater. So on a grand scale, I think that we have a society that is itself addicted to control. Addiction, the things that people use, as their pathways of addiction, these are ways to control life in some way, to control pain, to control emotions, to control other people, and so forth. So our culture, our society, let me say, responds to its problems through various technologies of control. Or another example would be the piling up of pharmaceutical medications, each one causing symptoms that another one is added in to address. Or agricultural technology, where tractors and chemical fertilizers destroy the soil and allow pests to proliferate. And so then you add a pesticide and that destroys the soil even more. So you add another one, and pretty soon you're completely dependent on the chemicals. So the same pattern. Or foreign policy. There's terrorists, you bomb them or you try to keep them out, and somehow it doesn't solve the problem. Something else happens and you need even more and more and more control. So generally, the big picture is that our society is addicted to control. The response every time it doesn't work is more of it. And just like with an addiction, the price that we pay that is gouged out of our lives and gouged out of our souls is greater and greater. What is it in America? Like 15% of the population or something ridiculous like that is clinically depressed. And another huge chunk of them have anxiety, and another huge chunk are addicted, et cetera, et cetera. It's like half the people have some serious psychological disorder. And what do we do then? More control. Mood-altering pharmaceutical medicines. Like, we'll control your very brain. But at some point, we need this interruption to say, hold on here. Is this working? Have we actually hit bottom? Like, this is showing us where bottom is going to be, like what current trends are taking us toward. And that's why I have hope in this crisis, as well as a certain amount of despair and despondency. Before we started recording, you asked me, how am I doing? And like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, everything that I've been afraid of is happening now. And I see this timeline going into a dystopian future where it becomes normal never to leave your house. Like, a lot of people in this country haven't been that disrupted because they were already shopping online for everything, and everything was getting delivered to their house and not talking to anybody when they went shopping. And now you don't even need to go shopping. You can get deliveries to your house. Like, why do we even think we're going to go back to normal? And how far could it go? Could we see a world where even dating is online and procreation happens via sex robots, where, the sex robot comes to your house and you deposit your sperm and then goes to a lab and so on and so forth? Like and I'm not predicting that, but from the totalitarian nightmare of constant surveillance to the nightmare of separation from each other, like all of these things are happening. And so sometimes I'm like, I go through this despondency, but it helps me to recognize that this is also, it's a choice point, making our old trajectory visible, conscious, and therefore we could still choose to go that way, but maybe there's an awareness now